Hi YouTube, it's Dylan and Brandi, and this is the first time I'm actually gonna introduce a discussion with our official quote-unquote podcast name,
Oh
because
yeah.
we actually figured out what we want to. Yeah, remember we said we wanted to do that, so I'm gonna say it because I almost forgot until we just started. So, and shout out to Josh, who we had in our last Resident Evil related discussion, because he totally was like, "Hey, yeah, it's the Horror Insides podcast," and I'm like, "How the hell have Dylan and I never, thought about that?" Because that's the channel name and it fits with what we talk about. It's perfect. So that's what we're gonna call ourselves, but me, Brandi, and Dylan, and it's just us two today, a little throwback discussion, just the two of us, the OGs. And we're doing something, I always want to say different, but I guess, again, it's not that different because we have talked about movies and other things that are horror related besides Resident Evil. Resident Evil is our main focus, but today we're going to be talking about one of our favorite horror movies ever, and that is Creepshow. Woo woo.
I know.
Both Creepshow 1 and 2 we're going to be discussing.
Well, I was going to say the first is the best anthology movie ever. But the second one's almost as good.
Oh,
so.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're both really solid, and obviously, if you don't know much about Creepshow, which, you should, but if you don't, they're both anthology movies, Creepshow 1, Creepshow 2, and they were brought to us by horror masterminds George Romero and Stephen King, which, that's like, I always say this, but it's like a match made in horror heaven right there. Like,
I know.
thing that we could have ever had.
Legends that should have done more together, and they almost did a couple times, but at least we got this,
I know.
these amazing, brilliant movies.
Yeah. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to have a little general discussion about Creepshow, but we're also going to be sort of reminiscent, if anybody has ever listened to our Resident Evil top 5, top 5 characters, top 5 games. We're going to kind of rank the 8 episodes that are part of Creepshow. There's 5 in the first movie, and unfortunately only 3 in the second, which kind of sucks, but they're all really solid and good. So
yeah. And that might be one of the reasons why Creepshow 2 lacks a little bit compared to the first one, only because they had 5 stories originally, excuse me, and they had to cut a couple for like budget reasons. So that's why I think Creepshow 2 is a little lacking, but it's still really good.
No, yeah, I can agree with that. I do think the first one is a little more solid, maybe just because of the length and the number of stories. And I don't know. I like both a lot, but for different reasons, and we'll get into that. And also, side note, just for a little bit of fun, Dylan and I are drinking some beer. That's what we do sometimes.
I know. and I before we get into it, I also wanted to mention that on the whole topic anthology, Brandi and I are actually watching, and she's never seen it before, which is really fun when we watch through it. But Tales from the Crypt, we're watching that right now. She's never seen it.
Yeah.
She's owned the seasons for a long time. And I wasn't the only person that told her this, but just she loves Creepshow and Tales from the Crypt. Creepshow is inspired by the comics that Tales from the Crypt, the show, is based off of. So I told her, and other people did, like, you'd really like this, and so far I think she does. So that's really fun. I just wanted to say that.
Yes. Yeah, no, huge shout out to my dad for buying me all the seasons for Christmas. He's like, I knew you would like this, and I'm like, oh, Dad, you know me so well. I mean, you are my dad, so he just bought them for me randomly. And when I told Dylan's like, oh, well, what the hell, we should watch them. And I will say, I mean, maybe we'll eventually do a discussion when we're completely done. We're only on I think we're going on into season 3.
Yeah.
But I really like them all so far, and I recognize a lot of the actors, which is awesome. Like, a lot of pretty big names, like, went and did an episode, which is really cool. So and even big directors and stuff, that's really awesome. So we should definitely do a discussion on them eventually. I would love to, and pick out some of our favorites if I can remember some. Okay. So going back to what we are here for, Dylan, I guess since I started the podcast today, or discussion, whatever, if you want to start with your number 8 in the Creepshow, all of Creepshows, what would be number 8 for you?
Okay. Well, before I say that, I just want to say we decided for this one a little different from our top 5. We'll go through it, and whenever a story comes up first, we'll both talk about it a little bit, but the other person won't reveal where it is on their list, and then they'll say a little bit more on it later. But I just wanted to
yeah, that's a good idea, I think.
Yeah. But
But I'm sure we'll think of other points.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure if you say blah 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 for number 8, but it's like number 5 on my list, and I say something, it might trigger you to be like, oh yeah, and you can say like we always normally do that, so I don't think it'll get too stale or boring. Oh, by the way, on the beer thing, just in case I burp, I will mute myself and try to not be rude, but I'm just letting you know beer does make me burp. I am a female that likes beer. Do not judge me.
It's fine.
I don't do wine and fruity mixed drinks. I like beer. So cheers, Dylan, to your number 8. And what is it?
Oh, one more thing though. I just want to say we have the 8 stories. We enjoy and like every single one of them. So it's not like number 8. My number 8 I hate, or her number 8 she hates. We like every single one of them. They're all very, very good, which is rare for an anthology. For every story to be great. But
exactly.
But for my number 8, this will probably upset Brandi. And we rewatched the 2 movies a couple weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago, 3 weeks, 2 weeks maybe. So they're fresh in our head.
Yeah, we did both of them too.
And we've seen it in the movies. Yeah, we've seen the movies a bunch of times. But she really likes this one. I do too. I enjoyed it a lot when we rewatched it. But my least favorite, and again I still like them all, is from Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
It's Old Chief Woodenhead. I know Brandi really likes that one.
Oh.
See, I don't know why my thinking of this every time I watch Creepshow 2, and I'm thinking of it, I'm just like, wow. Yeah. I always feel like this is really boring. Like, this story is really boring. It wasn't when we rewatched it. It's just the feeling I get when I think about the story. And then also I think some of my problems with it, I get frustrated. Like, I don't want the cute old people to die, and I wanted it to end differently where they didn't. But it's a good revenge story, and the effects on the Old Chief Woodenhead are very good, you know.
Yeah, for the time they look amazing. It really looks like he's like made of like stiff wood. Like I always thought that looked really, really good when he first comes to life and he's moving all slow. That's really, really cool. Yeah, that's I knew one of my favorites would be at the end of your list, and that's totally fine. Because there are, I mean, while you and I usually agree on literally everything within Resident Evil and our favorite horror movies, there's some things we're bound to like sort of disagree on stuff. And I do like how you did do a disclaimer that just because they're at the bottom of our list does not mean we don't like them. Like, there's not one Creepshow that I would be like, oh, this is awful, I want to skip it, I don't want to watch it. Like, there are ones I like above others, obviously, but I love all of them, and I think they're all solid because Stephen King and George Romero are literally like, you know, the best. So. Yeah. But yeah, and I agree about the adorable old people. I love how see, Dylan, because I know you so well, I didn't think you would actually like admit that, but I love how you're just like, fuck it, I think old people are adorable.
I love old people.
Especially in that.
I love old people in real life, and I love old people in movies. And when bad things happen to them in horror movies, I just get really like uncomfortable.
I know. Upset. Yeah, I agree. Judd's another one. Shout out to Judd Crandall from Pet Sematary. Best old dude in anything. So great.
Oh, but we were talking about old people earlier.
Okay,
another old dude. Because shout out to Donald Pleasance. Donald Pleasance is amazing.
Oh yes, yes, another old man like king old man in the horror world. If that makes sense. There's a lot of really adorable like old men within the horror world, and I love it. He's definitely one of them. What a great actor too. He was great. We could do like a whole discussion on him. When we do the Halloween discussion, we'll definitely talk about him.
Oh, of course, yes.
But okay, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I should talk more about that because that literally is I don't want to give too much away, but that's like pretty low on my list, Old Chief Woodenhead. So maybe I'll wait to comment further on it. But I will say, kind of sad it's last on your list. But like I mean, I like how we're establishing that just because they're last doesn't mean they're awful to us. No. They're just not maybe as good as the ones ahead of them.
No, I used to not like that one.
So speaking of which,
but like I said, when we rewatched it last time, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But
I remember you saying that you were like, I always felt like this one's boring, but for some reason when you watched it last time, you like got more out of it. You're like, this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm glad because I really like that one. But speaking of number 8s, and this is so funny because I feel like your number 8 is one of my favorites, and I honestly feel like my number 8 is one of your favorites. And I feel like with this one, you probably already know what it is, but before I do reveal it, like, officially, I just want to say that I kind of feel the same way about my number 8 as you feel about Old Chief Woodenhead. Like, I feel like when I just think about it, it's kind of boring. But then when I watch it, I always do enjoy it. But And if my parents or family ever listen to any of our discussions or podcasts and hear this, they're gonna be like, dude, what? Because this is like a family favorite of mine. Like my family always loved this one. But this is from Creepshow 2 as well, The Hitchhiker.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I just don't feel like it's as solid as maybe the ones that, and a lot of people are probably gonna hate me for this because I do think it's like a fan favorite too. Like I think out of Creepshow 2, it's probably I would think the most popular one. I always hear
Yeah.
people talk about it, but I don't know. I just feel like it's just, I guess because it just mainly takes place in just her car, which again, I'm not, most of them just take place in, one or two different areas, like, so it's not really, I don't know what it really is. It's just, I guess because it's just her and it's kind of repetitive. The guy just keeps coming back. He gets more and more fucked up every time he comes back, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just talk about the negatives. Some positives of it is I think she's a really good actress. The girl, I wish I had her name in front of me.
Lois
We should probably be a
Giles
little
is her
more
name.
official, but yeah. She's really good. She plays a cheating whore. I don't like cheaters either. Like that's one of my pet peeves in life.
But that's a staple in anthologies, so
and she's kind of
makes
bitchy.
sense.
But yeah, very flawed characters usually, and they usually get what they deserve in the end. So I guess that's what's good about it. By the way, I guess we should have said this in the beginning. Spoiler alert: if you've never seen Creepshow, you are going to be spoiled shit. So if you don't want to be, then don't watch this. But anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know what more I can say about it, but and I know you. Oh, one good thing about it too: a Stephen King cameo.
I know.
He only makes. Well, we'll talk about his other quote unquote cameo when we get to it, but he's great.
In The Hitchhiker, when he's just like, looks like a black guy.
Looks like a black guy, huh?
Oh, and I don't know if I should say this on a public, internet thing, but honestly, I just got to give a shout out to my state because I'm from Delaware. It's the smallest, most boring. Like nobody, everybody's like, oh, I've driven through there before, or I've literally had one person say to me one time, oh, what state is that in? And I wanted to punch them. So Delaware is very tiny. It's on, the East Coast or whatever, but shout out to Delaware because I think that's where he's going in The Hitchhiker because he has a sign that says Dover, which is our capital, and I believe it takes place on the East Coast. I mean, there are many places that have Dover, but I always was like, oh, Delaware, yay! So I just wanted to say that.
I think if I were to comment on it a little bit, I think I really enjoy it, but I will agree that I can totally see why you might not and other people might not, because it is pretty repetitive. It's like the same thing happening over and over, but for whatever reason, I don't know, it's intense.
You really like it.
And the lead actress is very good. If she wasn't good, I don't think it would work at all.
No, I agree. Yeah, you have to be able to act like by yourself pretty much because she has to talk to herself and kind of go crazy.
Yeah.
I think she does a really good job, so I will definitely say that. I think I may have liked it even less than I do if it was a bad actress, like you just said. But she was great.
Easter egg.
We used to literally call it "Thanks for the ride, lady."
Easter egg. I remember we picked it up last time we watched it, but when that cheating whore is at the beginning, she gets out of her male prostitute's bed or whatever, they have behind them on the bed is Stephen King's It, the book, and it was like right when it came out.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
I know. Good job sneaking that in there, Stephen King. You're the best. You're the man. Oh my gosh, that's great. All right, well that's all I really have to say about it, and I know it's obviously on your list somewhere, so if you don't want to comment any further, then that's good because I think we talked about it a lot. So we go into your number 7.
Okay. My number 7, also from Creepshow 2. I think the stories in Creepshow 1 are generally more solid, so that's why the 2 out of the 3 stories from Creepshow 2 are at the bottom of my list. But again, I still like them, and my number 7 is...
Right.
A lot of people like it, but it's The Raft. I mean, I like it a lot.
Oh my god, I'm just going to say it. My number 7 is the same.
Okay.
I might as well just say it. Then we can talk about it. But mine is...
It's good. It's very 80s, and like those characters, I feel like you could pluck them out of this and put them in a Friday the 13th film, and they'd fit just fine.
Oh, definitely.
And I mean, it's cool because it's like a monster, but it's like this weird oil slick in the water, which is interesting and cool.
Yeah, because it looks realistic. It's not just like a big, animatronic monster coming at you, although there is sort of an animatronic monster in one later that we will definitely talk about. That's awesome. But so I'm not downplaying animatronics, but I just love how simple the raft is. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally like something that you could potentially, like, I remember when my boyfriend and I were camping one time and we were by like a lake and we saw like this weird like roundish thing in the water that kind of almost resembled it. So it's like you could kind of like see something in the water that could make you mistake, like, oh shit, is that the thing from the raft? Like, obviously it's completely fictional and made up, but it looks so real. It just looks like this oily weird thing in the water that I think is really convincing that it could be real.
And I always wondered
like,
how they like
I do
controlled
like that.
it underwater. Like, how did they get it to move to, like, where they wanted it to?
I know, it's so interesting.
And it's also, the story is very grotesque.
Yeah.
It's very, when they get sucked into the oil slick. Interesting to know also, this is one of the
and it just eats their skin off.
This is one of the few stories in both movies that's actually based on a Stephen King short story, so that's pretty cool. I don't know what it's from, but I know it's based on a short story that he wrote.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
It's very Stephen King-ish, so I can see that.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's
just very unique. It's unique type of horror.
But yeah, so...
Which I think all the Creepshows actually are. They're all very unique and have like this weird...
Yeah.
It's not just in your... Like, I don't know. They're all like so unique. It's not just in your face like zombie type things. They all have a unique like story and reason why
and they're all...
the story is happening. And I think you're totally right about the characters, like the Friday the 13th characters.
All the stories in general, like I said, that the Creepshow is inspired by those comics from the 40s. None of these are based off of any of those stories specifically, but I could, especially rewatching Tales from the Crypt, I can say these fit. It's all the same. It's of the same thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's pretty interesting. I don't know what else I could say about the raft. I guess like I was gonna say something else and then I forgot. I mean, just to comment on like the characters, they are great because they do fit that like stereotypical horror teenager or early, adult college kid type thing, and I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just feel like it's very authentic and realistic. Like they just are going to this raft and this thing shows up and just fucking eats them. Like it's just kind of crazy. Like it's almost like really simple. They literally just swim out to a raft. They kind of get stuck there. And I said something about the hitchhiker being kind of boring to me because it just like kind of takes place in her car and it's the same place. But I mean, the raft takes place literally just on the water on that raft, and I just find it, I don't know, it is just more interesting and appealing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really do like it. Oh my god, and the freaking ending, I remember when I first saw that, I was like, yes, he got away, and then I'm like, go, dude, just don't say anything to it, why are you getting so... And then it just fucking eats him like a wave. I was like, holy
yeah, but he
shit.
also got that other girl killed because he was like reaching up her shirt while she was sleeping, so he deserved
being
it.
a perv.
So...
Yeah, so he deserved it. Yeah, no, totally. They always do get what they deserve in anthologies.
They do,
I remember
yes.
talking about that. A lot of them are like
terrible people, and they
like,
usually get what they deserve.
Okay, so my number 6 is, I feel like it might be a little bit lower on your list because I know you really like this one. I also really do like this one. But so my number 6 is They're Creeping Up on You. It's from Creepshow 1. This is the first one from Creepshow 1 that we're talking about. It's like the last one on Creepshow 1, and I don't know, it's really good, it's really solid, and I think what makes it so good is not necessarily even the horror aspect of it, because it's basically just like about cockroaches, which are fucking creepy and disgusting, don't get me wrong. I'm like super terrified of bugs in real life, but I think what makes They're Creeping Up on You so good and interesting is fucking Upson Pratt, which is the main character.
Who I think is
and he's
played
just
by
such a douchebag.
Fritz Weaver. Again, it's the actor that really makes or breaks some of these stories. He's just ridiculous, and like there's that there's like that woman who he got her husband killed, but she keeps calling him and he keeps like intentionally mispronouncing her name, or he just doesn't give a shit to remember her last name. Miss Katzenjammer.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then he's like, oh yeah, who did you get my number from? I'd like to fire him. It was in my husband's address book, you son of a bitch. Well, can't fire him, can I? He's just like so insensitive, like her husband's dead, and it's basically because of him and how he runs his... He's just like, I don't know, he's great. He makes that whole episode, because that could potentially be seen as a boring episode as well, just because it does just take place in the apartment. It's just one character, but if you have a good enough actor, like we were saying about the one in the one in the Hitchhiker, like if you have a good enough actor, like it can work, and he just plays it so well.
He's very good.
And I mean, the whole bug thing's creepy too. His apartment's actually super cool looking though too. It's like this germ-proof, like white room, like apartment that just looks like pretty crazy itself. And then but then the one colorful cool thing he has in it is like the jukebox. It's just really funny.
I know. And fun fact, I remember reading that they had all those cockroaches, and then like years and years later, when they shot something else on that same like that same set, like it was remade and everything, but they still had the cockroaches and they couldn't get rid of them.
I know, because they're like really, and apparently George Romero got them from like some other like country,
I
like he just had them
know. I
shipped
hate the
like
ones
to
that are
like.
like.
I'm just like, wow, he really.
They gross me out, but the ones that are like
Ugh,
as
they're
there
big.
was some that are like as big as like half the size of a person's head. It's like, oh God, I would not want to see that.
I know. I know, and when they show some close-ups of a whole bunch of them running around together, the big ones are really noticeable, and they're just so freaking creepy. Like, ugh, it gives me the chills thinking about it. Like, I'm much more scared of like spiders probably than
Yeah,
cockroaches, but they're still freaking
yeah,
disgusting.
I know.
But yeah, if you don't want to say too much, because I know obviously it's somewhere on your list, then what is your number 6? Because now I'm interested
My
to know.
number 6, also might upset you. It's the first one from
I think I
Creepshow
know.
1.
It's fine.
It's my least favorite from that movie, even though again I like all the stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's my first from Creepshow 1. Um, and
Oh my God. I thought you meant it's the first one from Creepshow 1. I thought you were going to do
no,
Father's Day, because I know you let. I got confused. You mean it's your first one from
yeah,
Creepshow 1?
yeah,
Okay, I
and
get
it's my
it.
number 6.
That was my first one from Creepshow 1 too.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know why this is my least favorite from Creepshow. It's really effective. It's really startling, and there's a lot of moments in
Yeah.
it. Spoiler where they're like, sounds like they're gargling water, but anyways, that it's something to tide you over.
Oh yeah, and I absolutely love that one. But I mean, it still made number 6, because I honestly thought that may be your number. I thought that or Old Chief Woodenhead would be your number 8, and then I
No,
guessed it right, I guess, to a certain
no,
extent.
I
But
still think for the most part the
but
Creepshow one
I love
stories
that one.
are more solid for the most part. So I don't think I have any of them.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it's really scary if you think about it in real life and how they must have shot that, and the actors again are great.
Oh yeah.
Um, Leslie Nielsen, Ted
Yes.
Danson,
Leslie Nielsen's awesome.
and Galen Ross, who
Yes.
is her name Becca or Rebecca or something? Interesting that
Oh
she's
yes.
she's the
Yeah.
female lead in the original Dawn of the Dead, also by George Romero. I thought that was interesting and cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's really good. I just don't know. I feel like the other 4 stories in Creepshow 1, like, they grab me more, and a couple of them I have,
There's better too.
yeah, and a couple of them I'm more nostalgic towards, so that could help. But
Oh yeah, that may
yeah,
be it. Well, no, I can understand that, and I don't want to talk too much about something to tide you over, because obviously it is somewhere on my list. But I will say, like, while just to comment on you commenting on it, um, maybe it is like lower on my list and one of my like favorites, because it is very nostalgic to me, because when I was a kid, it was really the only Creepshow that really did freak me out, because I feel like I've said this in other discussions, probably definitely the Pet Cemetery one, and maybe even the It one, because we talked about like our personal fears when it comes to movies and stuff. But my biggest fear is like creepy like women that just look so like something's wrong with them or off. That's why Zelda in Pet Cemetery is so scary. That's why when I saw fucking The Exorcist for the first time, I mean, I think that scared everybody the first time, because that shit's just scary. But like, I'm always scared of like just women that look off or creepy. And so in Something to Tide You Over, when they come back to life, and there's this fucking noise that they make that literally gives me chills to this day, because it freaks me out so bad. And I used to feel like I would hear it at night when I would go to bed, and I'd fucking see these seaweed people standing at my door. It just really freaks me out. So even though both of them come back, the male and the female, there's something about the female, like when Becky or Becca, whatever her name is, when she comes back, I'm just like, oh. They both look really scary though, and their voices, how they do that effect that makes them sound like they're underwater, it's super like
yeah,
interesting and scary. So
yeah. I know. I always thought it was really disturbing and creepy that it sounds like their throats are just still full of water. I think that's very effective.
I know, and especially for the time, and for the time, it's such like I feel like both the Creepshow movies for their time have really good,
Yeah.
effects, and they did it all without CG and all without the new technology. So I think that's pretty awesome. Because we should probably say this too. When did Creepshow 1 come out, and then when did the second one come out? I always forget.
82
I'm
and
terrible with
87.
years. Wow, they were that far apart. Well, I guess 5
Yeah.
years. not too bad, but I don't know. I thought they were closer for some reason, but yeah, they're both great though. But yeah, I don't want to say too much more because I obviously will talk more about it when I get to it on my list. But I mean, I'm not that mad about that because at least you put the Raft. I mean, at least you put it before the Raft, so
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay, so do you want me to do my number? We're on number 5.
Yep.
Ooh, so we're already on top 5. This is gonna be fun. Okay. My number 5 is, I think the official title of it's really long, but it's The Lonesome Death of Jordy
Yep.
Verrill. Is
Yep.
that it?
Yep.
Is it Lonesome? Yeah, because I just wrote Jordy Verrill on number 5, but oh my God, what can I say about this one? That it's just so freaking funny. It's so campy. I love it, but also really creepy and weird in its own way. But like it's just Stephen King plays Jordy Verrill, and oh my God, I could quote me and my sisters. You know, I grew up on the movies, just like a lot of the horror movies from the 80s and stuff. And my sisters and I will literally look at each other and just be like, meteor shit sometimes. And it's just like, we just all know and we all laugh. And if you've never seen it, somebody's going to be really confused by that line. But obviously, if you've seen it, you'll laugh at that because it's like the best. And like Stephen King, you know, to my knowledge, and I'm a big Stephen King fan, has never really done much acting. Like he usually makes like a cameo in some of his movies and stuff, but like this is like a full like him acting, and it's so great. He brings like such humor and like charm to this like rednecky role, which I absolutely love. And
I
he's
know.
like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Oh my God,
Yeah.
he's so great.
One line that just pops into my head. I don't know what he says, but he's just like, "Holy old Jesus."
Holy, holy, oh yeah. Oh my God. And there's like, this is like so subtle, but this is my type of humor. Like I just like with horror, I love like subtle humor,
Yeah.
like not like, you know, stupid in your face like sex jokes that everybody like. So there's this part in when he's like scratching his back on the door and he's like, "Don't it itch?" And he's like talking about the green stuff growing on it. I just, oh my God. And it's the way he delivers the line all loud and like obnoxiously. Oh my God, I love it. So, and he definitely, again, just have to praise that they got the perfect actor, even though he's not even an actor. But and it's so funny. I always say this, to see Stephen King in such a like, you know, unintelligent role, because he's like this great writer and he's great with words and he's very smart. And I've heard him give speeches at colleges and stuff, and he's obviously super, you know, articulate. He's a fucking amazing novelist, so obviously he's smart. And then he plays just this dumb, you know, hillbilly guy out in the country, and he's like an alcoholic, and which obviously I think Stephen King really was an alcoholic. And really, I don't know if he was at that time, but I know he struggled with it. But I mean, it's just, the role is just great, and I love it. I don't know really what else I can say about it. If you bring other stuff up when
Yeah.
you get to it on your list, then I'll probably say more, but I love it. And I mainly, I guess my points on it, because I mainly just talked about Stephen King, but he's what makes it. I think if anybody else had played it, it wouldn't have been as, I don't know, maybe, but he's just great. He's so good in it.
I know. Yeah. He again. It's an example of the actor. He's not even an actor, but that the right person
Yes.
doing it is just great.
Yeah.
It would
Exactly.
probably would be pretty bad if it was anybody but Stephen King.
I agree. He just makes it, and he's really good at, like, again, this is a thing in Creepshow that I never really realized till we were talking about them all, but like it's just one actor just by himself, and Stephen King's by himself from the beginning to the end. He doesn't get any phone calls. He doesn't, you know, interact with any other actor.
Except for
just him, and he's so convincing and
except
good.
for like the
Remember,
doctor and like his father, who is played by
does
the
he
same
talk to?
person.
Oh yeah, the flashback scenes and stuff. I forgot about that. Yeah, but for like 90% of it, he's just like by himself, which I absolutely love. And remember when, like, I just have to like shout out this moment too, when the meteor first crashes down and he's looking at it and he just slaps his face, like, or his hand, like he uses his hand to like slap his mouth or whatever, because he's just so shocked that it just fell. And he's like, "Holy old jeez!" I love that. I'll be dipped in shit if that ain't a meteor. I love that.
Or like when he goes to, in his like imagination, when he gets the meteor and he like thinks he's gonna go to a college and like sell it for a bunch of money, and like on the door it's like says it's like the Department of Meteors. It's so stupid.
Meteors. Oh my God, I love it. Pay off that bank loan. It's like little things that he says that stick with me, that I love. Like my sisters and I will quote them as random shit from that, and it's just so funny. And that one's a big part of my childhood that I always loved and found so funny. So that's why that definitely deserves a spot in my top 5. You know, maybe it should be a little lower, but it's definitely number 5. So what is your number 5? Now that we're on top 5, I'm excited to see what you put.
My number 5 is one that you've already talked about, but it's the last story from Creepshow 2. and it's The Hitchhiker.
Wow, that one made your top 5. I'm surprised one from Creepshow 2
I
made your
know, I
top
kind
5,
of
but that's
wanted to
awesome.
include one from Creepshow 2 in my top 5, and then I was like, as I was doing it, I
Yeah.
was like, it fits there, so I didn't like force it there. But I don't
Yeah.
know what else to say about it other than I don't know why. I know it's repetitive. I know it's just like the same thing
Yeah.
happening over and over, but it's really enjoyable. I don't know. Maybe that's probably the one I'm most nostalgic towards in Creepshow 2. So,
I guess, yeah, that's what's weird, because I think that's probably the one that, well, I mean, like I said, my family absolutely like loves The Hitchhiker. Like I remember my dad always, because we're like big quoters in my family of like if we think of a movie quote, we're just gonna like shout it out, and then we're all gonna like be like, oh, what's that from or whatever. We just always do that. So my dad would just randomly sometimes throughout my childhood be like, thanks for the ride, lady, and he would say it, and I'm like, what are you talking about, Dad? And then he finally showed me the movies. I mean, I was young when he showed me them, but I mean, he was finally like, you need to watch it. And like for the longest time, my parents would always be like, even my mom would be like, oh yeah, thanks for the ride, lady's my favorite. And I'm like, Mom, it's called The Hitchhiker. You guys are making it way more complicated than what the actual name is. So it's very nostalgic to me too. But I think after growing up and like watching all the creep shows over again, it just kind of just is my least
yeah.
favorite. But it's still good, and I can see why you do like it and why a lot of people like it. So, and the Stephen King cameo, I love that. What the fuck happened? Remember he says that when he
I know.
gets out of his truck. Oh, he's
Yeah.
great. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. I feel like this might happen a little bit as we get further up. There's some things I'm saving for some ones we've already talked about, but if you want to go straight into
Oh yeah, that's fine.
your number 4? Yeah.
Number 4.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I know, and I totally understand if you don't say a lot about this one when I say it, because I'm like, I want to say I know you so well, Dylan, and I'm like 90% sure that this is in your top 3, so I don't think it's your number 4, but it's my number 4, and that's Father's Day, which is the first story in Creepshow 1, which is so fucking good and such a great opening to the anthology.
I know, it's...
I actually... No, go
No,
ahead.
I was just going to say, it's really, really good. I'll wait to say anything more.
I know that's what I figured you were gonna do.
Oh, well, we could
Just
say...
thinking about it. Well, it's a
I was
really...
going to say, we could just say a little bit on it. We haven't
What?
talked about it yet, but the lighting in Creepshow is amazing, and I think it's most effective in Father's Day. All the bright blue and the bright red.
Oh yes. Yeah, like there's like lighting effects. Yeah, they do it in The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, so it's like a greenish light because of the plants and stuff growing, and I absolutely love that. And it's just like a cool effect because they are comic book stories or whatever. So to have that, I think it gives it that like kind of comic booky feel in a way, and it's just kind of cool, like the dark light, the dark blue lighting, and the red. And also the actors in that completely amazing. It's one of the ones that does have a couple actors in it. I know it has God, what's his name? And he's a big actor now. I think his name's Ed Harris or whatever. Is that his name? Am I thinking the right person? Yeah. So he's actually a pretty big actor now, and I believe he was either nominated or has won an Oscar by now. Like pretty big actor, and if you Google him, I'm sure people will know who he is. But he's very young in that, and I think it was one of his first roles, and he dies right away. Spoiler alert, which is really funny, like because he's an idiot. Basically, is why he dies. The woman that plays Aunt Bedelia. Do you know? Please tell me you know her name. I love her.
Vivica
And I can't think of her real name. Oh, see, you're good at this. Yeah, she. Oh my God. If if Creepshow was gonna win like an Oscar, she definitely should get. Well, there's maybe one other one that I want to talk about a little bit later that needs an Oscar too for a certain reason. All the actors are so good in Creepshow. Like they definitely like nailed the casting, and I love. And Father's Day is
I
another
know.
perfect example of that. And I really had something awesome to say about it, and then I lost my train of thought. But
On her though, I just want to say my favorite line from her is when she's just sitting at the grave and she's yelling at her father's gravestone, and she's like, "You, like, he's like, you bitch, you called me a bitch."
yeah, I love the way she says it. You bitch, you called me a bitch. And then like when she goes, ashtray back in place, chair overturned, and she goes, ooh, she does like this face. She doesn't say anything, but she does this face where she puts her lips together and she's just like, ooh, I love it. Oh my God, she's great. And again, another a good example of an actress that's able to carry like a whole scene on her, just her like talking to herself, because she doesn't really interact with any of the other characters until like the dad comes back or whatever. So like she's great.
Yes.
she's my favorite. She's probably my favorite part of Father's Day and why it's so good. And I guess Father's Day might be. It definitely has unique things about it. Obviously, like the whole backstory and him being like a jerk and she killed him on Father's Day. But I guess it's the most generic of all the creep shows because it's literally about somebody coming back to life or from the dead and being vengeful. But at the same time, like it has so much in the story that makes it just unique and stand out on its own too, if that makes sense. Like while it is a cliche story of this guy's coming back to life and killing people, it just has like so much in it. Oh my god, I love it. And it's a really perfect way to start off the first creep show.
Yeah, it's a really effective beginning.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your number 4? Now I'm interested.
Well, my number 4
we're getting down to the wire.
You've already talked about and it is The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. I think that whole thing is just
yay.
It's just made by Stephen King's batshit off the wall performance, and it's just hilarious. And there was another funny line that I know you like, but I don't know if you didn't remember to say it when you were talking about it earlier. But it's just off screen, and the weeds are growing all around him, and he goes into the bathroom and he just yells, "No, not there."
Yeah, because he's looking. Yeah, oh my god, I love it. He just. Yeah, the whole thing is good because of Stephen King. That performance is so great. He should have went on to do more acting because he's fucking great. He becomes that character.
I know.
It's so funny. He's supposed to be this big goofball redneck guy. It's just, and he does it so well. For being such a smart guy in real life and very articulate and whatever. It's so funny to see him play something that's so opposite himself. I love it.
I know.
Honestly, when you get down to the wire, Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, it's so funny that it made both of our top 5s, because when you really think about it and look at the story in comparison to a lot of the others, even on the second one, it's so goofy and over the top and kind of dumb, but at the same time, it's just so, you have to love it because of Stephen King, and it's so good. And it's, again, very unique. It's just this fucking meteor comes shooting down and just sprouts out all this random shit, and he just deals with it and then dies. It's just, it's really, really random, but it's great.
Oh, and I think that is another story that is based off one of his short stories. I know I mentioned that before.
What?
Jordy Verrill. That's one of the other ones. I think there's 2 in the first movie and only 1 in the second one. Yeah.
So that was your number 4, right? So are we doing number 3 now?
Yeah, so if you wanted to talk about your number 3.
My number 3 you already talked about, and you may be kind of surprised. It may surprise you that it's so low on my list, but then again, you know how much I love it, so maybe you won't be surprised at all. But my number 3 is Old Chief Woodenhead, which is the first story from the second one. And I don't know, I just really like it. I just love the whole plot of it. I hate when the old people die. It really does upset me and make me so fucking mad. I hate the fucking guy, but that's what makes the revenge plot of it all so good. And I think it's honestly, out of all the creep shows, it may be the most nostalgic one to me, which I know might sound weird because obviously the first one, has so many, but I don't know if I ever told you this, and I was kind of saving it to tell a little story for Old Chief Woodenhead, but I do think now looking back on it, I was so young when I saw both the creep shows, but I want to say I saw Creepshow 2 before I saw Creepshow 1, and I think the only reason for that was we went to, again, Blockbuster throwback, where me and Dylan are pretty old. So when we would do Blockbuster, my mom would always let us pick out a horror movie, and she saw Creepshow and actually started getting really excited and was like, "Oh my god, girls, you have to see this," or whatever, talking to me and my sisters. And we were like, "Okay," and that's when my dad was like, "Thanks for the ride, lady, you have to see it," or whatever. So I do believe I saw Creepshow 2 before, only maybe a couple months apart. It wasn't years and years and then I saw Creepshow 1. So both of them definitely are my childhood. But Old Chief Woodenhead is so nostalgic to me, and I remember being so freaked out when he came to life, even though he's a good guy and he totally, avenges the death of the adorable old people. He freaked me the hell out. Because when he first comes to life, remember that fucking noise he does? He just sucks in and his eyes get all wide and it's like a noise. It freaked me out.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it.
And doesn't he also
and then he just scalps the one guy.
I know he paints war paint on his face, but does he use that from the blood of the old people?
No, I think that there's paint because earlier in the episode, I guess I'll say, remember that would have been cool, but I think there's paint already sitting there because the old guy was painting him earlier that day, and he kept saying that we gotta freshen up your war paint or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, even though and I just think the story is just good. It's a real good story of revenge, and even though it's sad as fuck when the old people die, the fact that the guy gets such good revenge on him, and yeah, and he cuts all that guy's long hair off that he's so proud of, that fucking guy.
I know.
He sucks. And again, I think the actors are really good in that. I definitely like George Kennedy, who plays the older man, who I think, oh, what's his name? George, is his name George in it? No, his real name's George Kennedy, but I forget what his
I
name
don't
is in the actual
I don't
story.
remember. I think.
I remember his wife's name's Martha. Oh, his name's
Oh,
Ray.
okay.
Ray, because I
Because
remember
I
her saying
remember when we
Ray.
watched
His
it, I remember
yeah,
I said to you, like,
it's Ray
I
and
had
Martha
no idea
Spruce.
what their names were, like, when we were done with the story. I remember I said that when we watched it.
Oh yeah, and usually you do remember all that. I know, because it's one of your least favorite, but I think I might like it too because I recognize George Kennedy right away because he's in a lot of older movies that my dad has shown me because my dad has shown me literally every movie from the 70s probably, like, so I'm just like schooled in all that old shit. So like I really like George Kennedy. He's a big actor from the 70s, but he's so adorable in Creepshow.
I know.
And I don't know who plays Martha, but she's great too and she's adorable, so it's really fucking sad when they just get gunned down. And I kind of like the setting of it too. Like it's in this old dusty town with like tumbleweeds rolling by, and like, you know, Indian tribes are still kind of around and a thing. And I don't know, it's just really interesting and cool.
Yeah, I think probably when we watched it last, why I started to like it more than I used to. I mean, I've seen it so many times. I don't know why I didn't like feel this way before. I probably did. I just don't remember. But like, I got really mad. I got really mad when they were killing the old people. Um, and then we talked about how cute they are, but
I know. It makes me so sad. Like, one thing I don't like about it is it honestly genuinely makes me really upset when the old guy's like begging, like, for not he's not really begging for his life, but he's sort of just like, trying to talk them, and he's so nice and sweet and adorable, and the facial expression, it just kills me. Oh my god,
I
it makes me
know.
so upset. But that's why the revenge is so awesome.
Yeah, but then I get mad at the end because I'm like, I wanted it to end differently. Like, couldn't you like brought him back to life or something?
The old
Or
people.
like, I think I said this.
I
I
know,
said
that would
this
have
when
been
we were
awesome.
watching it. Couldn't they have had like a kid that works at the store, and the kid gets killed, and that's the revenge, but the old people are fine. I'd be okay with that.
Oh yeah, I would too. Actually, that sounds awful, but that's true.
Like a teenage to adult
So
son. I'd
yeah,
be okay with that.
they're yeah, someone that's a little whiny baby like Gabe from the fucking third season of Walking Dead. That's terrible, but um, but yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what it is about that one that I absolutely love. It's a combination of the adorable old actors and just the actors in general that are really good. Old Chief Woodenhead being a really interesting and also kind of creepy thing to me personally, just because when I was a kid and I didn't really understand the story, when he came to life, I used to get so scared, even though he is essentially a good guy or whatever. And just like, I guess it being super nostalgic to my childhood, it's like a combination of all that I just absolutely love about it. I love the setting, I love the story, I think it's really unique. So yeah, that's just where I stand with it. It's always been one of my favorites. So that was my number three. So Dylan, I think I may know at least your number one,
Hmm.
but I don't know what your number three might be because I don't know which one you still have left. But like, what is your number three? Or maybe I do know. I don't
Well,
know.
my number three you've talked about before, um, and that would be They're Creeping Up on You. I'm surprised it was so high because
Oh,
it used to be one of my least favorites. I don't know. I think I've just seen these movies so much, my opinion changes all the time, with the exception of like my one and two.
oh yeah,
I think those are always the same.
yeah. I think that's how
But
I feel. Yeah.
just one thing that I thought I could add to that one. I really like how it ends and how like it's kind of an ambiguous ending. Like you don't know if is all that in his head because he's so obsessed with like people beneath him and like sees
Oh
them
yeah, with
as
cleanliness and
cockroaches.
oh yeah, and that's a good analysis. I never thought
Yeah,
about that. That's interesting.
because like isn't the last shot too like it shows the cockroaches bursting out of his chest or whatever, but then isn't the last shot of the thing like the
Yeah.
place is like empty and clean? So I always thought that. I thought that was
Mm, I thought the last shot's like, remember when it turns
oh
like back
right,
into
right,
like
right.
the comic book? It's like
There might
all
have been
the
a shot before
cockroaches in that
that
room.
like just
Yeah.
cut to something
Ugh.
and like the whole place looked empty.
It
Like there
shows.
was I remember there was a shot like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're. Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like way to think about it, and it probably also is so. I guess, low on your list or whatever, or high. I don't know if we're talking about like
Yeah,
favorites.
hi.
Because I know you agree with me that Upson Pratt is
I
just
know he's.
amazing. Like, he's such a dick and like so
I
not likable,
know.
but that's what makes him
Isn't it?
likable. It's just
There was
funny.
also like one of his employees that called him at the beginning, and like he said he was at like Disney World or something, and he was like threatening to fire him because he was on vacation or something with his family.
Yeah, and then he's like, and then you can take your kids to Disney on your fucking welfare check. I'm like, oh my god, he's so mean. He's just like, it's these lines, and the writing is so smart, and the way the actor delivers it, it's just, oh my god, it's so funny.
I know, yeah.
He's just such a jerk.
He's probably one of my, like, in my top three or top five, like, favorite characters in both movies for sure. I know who my favorite character is in the movie.
Definitely.
And I'm sure yours is the same, but.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about. Yeah, we'll talk about. I want to say her later, not give too much away, but yeah. But do you also remember when somebody's talking to him on the phone? I don't know if it's the wife at that point that calls him, or it's the guy that tells him, so and so shot himself. But remember, they're like telling him how he did it, or they're saying something. Whoever's on the phone is saying something really sad to him, and he's just like playing like a fucking violin, acting like he's so like dramatic. He's just such a jerk, not even with his words, but his actions, and he's just like, oh my god. And he's so neurotic with the fucking bugs and the cleanliness, and just like, oh my god, it's so funny.
I know, yeah.
He's a great character.
Yeah. What's your number 2? Right, you already talked about your number 3, I think.
Yeah, my number 3 was
right.
Old Chief Woodenhead, but my number 2, I know when I say my number 2, you're gonna want to hold your tongue a little bit, because I believe this might be either your number 1 or 2. I had a really, really hard time deciding between my 1 and 2, and these are subject to switch around every now and then. I just want to say that, but the state of mind I was in the other night when I was making this list last night, actually, I did decide to put this one at number 2, but I do sometimes say it is my number 1. It just depends. The first 2 switch around is basically what I'm trying to say, but number 2, as of right now for me, is The Crate, and I fucking love it. I heard that like sigh.
Oh well, actually,
I
if this is your number 2, it's also my number 2, so I can talk about it too.
What? Oh my god!
Yeah, I think
1.
Just like you saying your number 1 and 2 switch a lot. I think mine do too. My number 1 and my number 2. I think I have more, I don't know, attachment to my number 1. More nostalgia, more attachment. I liked it more when I was younger.
I feel the same way.
So I had to put it.
I feel the same way. That's maybe why. All right, well, good. Then we can both just get out everything we like about The Crate now, because I know we're going to mainly want to talk about one character in particular, so I'm just going to say her name now, and that's, oh, God, what's her actual real name? I wanted to say that first. What does she say?
The actress?
Wilma. Oh, yeah. No. I was just going to say Wilma.
Everybody
Call
does.
me Billy, everyone. I love it. Played gracefully by Adrienne Barbeau.
Yeah, Barbeau. Yeah.
Not gracefully, I should say, but like just to perfection.
I mean, yeah, I think she might have even more great lines than like Upson Pratt. She's just amazing. Like,
oh yeah. Put them in a room together. Oh my god, they would freaking rip each other's throats out. Like they would like fight to the death. Because they would be trying to one up each other constantly. I think they would just keep going back and forth. There'd be like no end, because she's so vicious, but in like a way that she's still likable, though. I don't know what it is. It's the way that she's, oh my god, I don't know, it's so funny. Like Dylan and I always talk about, like, there are many moments that I know we're going to want to highlight and talk about, but one of the moments that you and I actually were talking about earlier that's so funny is when it's like very early on in the episode, when you're first kind of introduced to the kind of character she is, and you're like, oh god, or whatever, and she meets these 2 new people and for the first time, and she's just like, oh yeah, maybe we can go, or what does she say, we can go shopping sometime or whatever, and I know all the best stores, and she just like makes this like she's utterly disgusted what the girl is, what the female's like wearing. Oh my god. It's the facial expression, along with the line delivery, that just, I love it.
With those same characters, like the first thing she says to them, or maybe she says it after that, she's like, she's, what, you're not drinking? And then she drags them over to the bar and bumps into a bunch of people.
Yeah, you 2 aren't drinking.
And then looks at the people like it's their fault because she bumped into them.
I know. Oh my god. Or it's like when she's driving way later on and she gets honked at by somebody and she just fucking like gives them the
I know, and
dirtiest
that's
look
so
in her
funny.
mirror as if they can even see her.
Because right before that, she was like smiling and she was like all happy because she just got that no, and she was like
Yeah.
so full of herself. And then the person honks a horn and she just drops her face and just.
Oh my god, it's so great. It's like this miserable like look. Yeah, it's like a smile that fades into this miserable bitchy like frown.
Of
I
course,
love
she
it.
still
Oh my
has
god.
her milk and scotch or whatever as she's driving.
Oh, that's so nasty. Oh my god. Every time, even as a child, when I didn't even really know what like alcohol really was, even I was like, ew, what is she doing? Like, it's just disgusting. Fucking mixing scotch with milk. And apparently that's a real drink, people, so it's not just for the movie. That's fucking
Yeah.
disgusting. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh my god, but we could seriously go on and on about her. She's so freaking funny. The way she treats poor
I
fucking Henry,
know.
he's so sweet. He's like this little
And
pushover
all of
guy.
his,
He, again, speaking of adorable older people,
I
he's
know,
so cute.
all of his, uh, imaginations, or every time he fantasizes about killing her, it's just great. Like at the beginning, he shoots her and everyone's clapping, and there was.
I know, and then he does
I
that
know.
adorable little smile, like he's all
But
proud
before
of
we
himself.
talk about, the creature and the other good things in it, one of her other lines I just love when she's just,
Yeah.
and it was another time he fantasized he like strangled her or whatever, but she was like leaving, and she was,
Oh
I
yeah.
always say this every time we watch it, but like she's talking about going to one of her, she's going to her classes. It's like, what class is she? We always talk about, is she going to AA? Is that the class she's talking about? Or
I
her
always thought
classes,
that.
and then she still comes back drunk, I think.
I know, she's like, and she has a drink right away, even if she wasn't drinking at the classes, which I think she is because she stumbles out of the car or whatever. But yeah, she just drinks. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, she's like, wipe the stove, just like real loud and random to him. Just because you and your intellectual friend are gonna play chess doesn't mean you have to leave a mess for me. Wipe the stove. She like yells at him. It's like a naggy wife times
I
a
know.
million. It's so funny.
I
Oh my
know.
god.
She's
And it works so well because she's such a great actress, and it's just, oh my god. Anybody else playing that role probably would have. It probably would have. I think the thing they were going for is they want you to hate Billy, and we obviously do. Like, she's such a horrible bitch. She's so mean to Henry. But I think because Adrian, is it Barbeau? I always want to say
Barbeau.
Doe for some reason. It's Barbeau though, right? Yeah. I think the way she plays her though makes her likable in some weird
I know.
way. I don't know. I think if it was any other actress, we'd be like, fuck this bitch. But she's just funny.
And it's just it's so funny because in interviews she's really nice, and like other roles she's done, she's always like the nice, like
Yeah.
like final girl or whatever. She's like yeah,
Heroine
and
or
then in
something.
that she's just
Yeah.
like the worst person, but the best character in the movie.
I know. Oh my god, definitely. She's definitely the most entertaining. Like, whenever she's on screen in Creepshow, it's never boring or dull. She's just funny.
I know.
And poor Henry. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, I guess we should talk about other things in it, but she's definitely, to me, she makes the crate. That whole episode,
She does,
makes
yeah.
it the best.
Yeah.
So. But another character who's kind of minor and does die right away, but he's so adorable.
Oh,
is
yeah.
the janitor.
Yeah.
I think his name's Mike because they call him Mike the janitor. He's the one who finds the crate under the stairs, and he's probably the most adorable old man I've ever seen in my entire life. And when he dies, I just want to like die.
I know.
But the guy who plays Henry's a really great actor too. Actually, pretty big actor himself. And he's been in a lot of stuff. But and then I love the guy. I don't know the guy who plays Henry, and I don't know the guy who plays what's his name? Why do I always forget the character's name? The one that's like Dex. Yeah, wow, that's probably why. So he is an amazing actor because when he comes in, after seeing the thing from the crate, and he's like freaking
I know, to
out,
that like
and he's like
40-year-old
sweating, and he
college
just
student.
he's so good. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, the one with the glasses, yeah. Oh, he's like, professor or whatever, and I'm like, dude, you do not look like you go to college. Yeah, 40-year-old. Kind of looks like Elton John. So funny.
And then
Yeah.
then the creature that's in the crate. I mean, the few times they show him, it's like it's just amazing, like practical effects. And I don't know if it's a guy in a suit or if I don't know what it is, but it's really well done when they show.
Oh,
yeah,
the creature.
Fluffy.
Yeah.
I think his name's Fluffy.
Fluffy, yeah. Oh my god, yeah. I when I was watching the Adrienne Barbeau thing earlier, the interview or whatever, she was saying that she couldn't remember if it was an animatronic or somebody in a suit. She's like, you think I would remember this, but there's certain things you just forget, and she doesn't remember. But I don't know. Sometimes I think when it jumps out, it looks like a guy in a suit, but then sometimes when it's just in the crate and you kind of see its head, it looks a little animatronic-y,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Either way, it's fucking got a crazy ass design. It's scary looking. It's like the, what do they say in the thing, like Tasmanian
Yeah.
devil? That's kind of what it looks like.
And I think the crate is, while it may not be my favorite, but then again, like I said, it changes all the time, and it changes all the time with you too. I think we said before, if any of the stories
has the most unique like villain or whatever.
And if any of the stories could be stretched into a full movie, it's for sure that one.
Oh, definitely. And it's so, again, all of them have something unique in them, but it's such a unique story. It's literally about finding this crate that's from like the 1800, I forget what the actual like year on it is or whatever, but they just find this crate and there's a creature inside that's like, you know, all fucked up and scary or whatever. So it's kind of like, so it's like unique in its storytelling, but it's so, I don't know, and the creature is so different. It's not just like a zombie that comes back to life or like revenge. It's just like this fucking fucked up looking thing with sharp ass teeth. It's so scary looking. When I was a kid, oh my god, it freaked me out so bad. So yeah, definitely one of, if not the most solid Creepshow like story. It's really really good. And isn't that one based on?
Oh, it is, yeah.
Like
yeah, that one is more than any of the other ones. One I would love to read, but I don't know. It might have been that one. One of the stories he said he wrote in some like magazine or something, and he's never been able to find it himself. So it's kind of a shame that like the Creepshow stories, I don't think were ever like collected in any of his books, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, which is really
I'd love to just be able to buy the book it's in and read it, but unfortunately, you can't do that.
I really would love to see how he had written it, if it is exactly like the one that ended up in Creepshow, or if they changed a little bit, because it's super interesting. It's very Stephen King-esque. I could see him writing something like that. I could see him writing all of them, but like definitely the crate is like very Stephen King-ish. And it's just a really good story too. And I love how like you and I talked when we watched Creepshow last time, but we were like, why don't they just leave the fucking thing alone? He clearly just wants to be left alone. He even puts his own crate back under the stairs and just hides in there. He doesn't want to be left. They could just leave him the fuck alone. I mean, I know Henry totally uses him for his advantage, because why wouldn't he? But but they could have just left him alone. And I always thought the noise that that Fluffy makes, it's weird to call him that, but that's his actual name. But the noise that comes from the crate when they're like standing there, it's like this little like monkey-ish noise, but it's super like, it always bothered me. Like as a kid, I always thought that was just kind of eerie too, that it sounds like this little, like it sounds like it's little or something, but it's fucking monstrous and scary. And where does he make a cameo appearance or something? Didn't you say like there's something where
I've never seen it, but I've read it online in Bride of Chucky. Bride of Chucky opens, you can see like Michael's mask and Leatherface's chainsaw. But I've read in some shot you can see the crate from Creepshow. I've never seen it myself, but I've read that.
That's pretty cool. All right, well, I knew we would go like into super detail on that one, but if you want to finally reveal our number ones, we can totally. I love that number 2 is the same for us, but I think I know what your number 1 is, because I know which one you didn't talk about yet, and I'm pretty sure you know what my number 1 is. So if we just want to say them and then give our opinions.
Well, my number 1, again, like it switches all the time between this and the crate, but I think I'm just most nostalgic towards this. Like even have a T-shirt, and like I think the most iconic shot of the whole movie is from Father's Day, which is my number 1. Like the most iconic shot in the movie, and it's like on the T-shirt that I have, is when he finally gets his cake and he has Sylvia's head on the platter. That's like, I think that that perfectly like,
I want that shirt. I'm jealous.
That perfectly like sums up the whole movie. I feel like it's campy, it's disturbing, it's I don't know, and
that's a good way to describe Father's Day in general. It's very campy, but also just good, and you know, you can take it serious, but at the same time it has camp in it, which I love. You know, just the way when he laughs and I want my cake, it's just like very classic.
I know.
Great.
Even though I didn't mention this before when you talked about it, but like he's a zombie that apparently has like telekinesis or something, because when I think her name is Cass, the girl, and her husband goes out to have a smoke, but then when he falls in the grave, it looks like the zombie is like zombie Nathan is like pushing or like pulling on the headstone like with his like hands, but like with like telekinesis he's not touching it, so I just thought that was kind of weird. He's a zombie, but he's
Yeah.
got telekinesis or something.
Well, he's undead. He can do what he wants.
But yeah,
I always thought that was a cool shot too. I'm thinking about it. Like, remember when I don't remember his name.
the
Who
husband.
is the
I don't
husband?
remember the husband's name. I couldn't.
Yeah,
That's why I had to.
I don't either. I
I
forget.
remember
That's the
his wife's name,
Oh,
Hank.
Hank. Because doesn't she
Yeah,
say
yeah,
where's Hank?
Hank. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say Henry, but then I'm like, wait, Henry's in the crate. I knew it was an H, but yeah, when Hank's like on the ground and it's about to fall on him and he's about to get crushed, and I love the face that Ed Harris makes because he just looks super horrified, but it also is kind of funny, just his expression because it's so like when he sees zombie Nathan like just standing there and the face is so great, and I always thought that shot of like Nathan or whatever is really kind of it is kind of eerie because it has that bluish lighting again and it's kind of far off. You just see like the dirty jacket and like I don't know. That's like a really cool shot.
Hmm.
Like that one, like I said, may not be the most unique story, but then again, at the same time, it kind of is because it meshes the whole, background of the Father's Day and the abusive father and
Yeah.
killing fucking Bedelia's like boyfriend or whatever is kind of fucked
Yeah.
up. So it does have its unique things, even though it is about a guy coming back to life
Yeah.
or
And I
whatever.
always
But
thought.
it's
I
really
think I
interesting.
said this when we watched it last, but I always thought it would have been interesting based on like what Bedelia says about Sylvia fixed it all. I always thought I wish there was more scenes with Sylvia. Like she set up the whole thing to make it look like an accident that Nathan, he wasn't killed or whatever. I always thought that would have been really interesting to get like a flashback
Yeah,
of her or them like
yeah, because we don't get a whole lot with
yeah, and
her.
she
Yeah,
might be my favorite character in it. I don't know why. She seems like she's like she's a real bitch and she's just like looking down on Hank and she's just yeah,
very
yeah.
posh about it. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, no, I can see that, but I think Bedelia still takes the cake. Haha, no pun intended for my favorite character because she's just when she's sitting at the grave, just getting drunk and yelling at her dad, and it's just I
I
don't
know.
know, she's
Yeah.
just great. I want my cake. Remember she makes fun of him? I love it. She's like mocking him. Oh,
Yeah.
it's great.
But yeah, that would be my number one. I think it's just the one I'm most nostalgic for.
Great choice. Yeah, it made me my number 4, but it obviously made my top 5 because it's so. And actually, it took me like my number 1 and 2. It took me a while to do my 3 and 4 because Old Chief Woodenhead ended up taking the spot for number
Right.
3, but Father's Day almost was my number 3, and Old Chief Woodenhead was
Yeah.
almost number 4. So those ones could probably switch around sometimes because I also really love Father's Day. It's just like it's such a classic Creepshow too. It's like when you watch that, it's just like you know what you're getting into. It's like yeah, this is Creepshow. It kind of defines what Creepshow like is all about with the lighting and just like the dead and just the story. It's so great
I
and the
know, and
great
like the
acting.
shitty people, the shitty characters.
Yeah, yeah, the shitty characters that are horrible people, all of them. I won't say shitty. I'll say
Oh,
flawed. All the characters are very flawed. That makes it sound a little nicer.
yeah.
But speaking of flawed, terrible characters, my number 1, which I'm sure you
Mm.
already know, and I agree with exactly what you said. The reason why the crate took number 2 and this took number 1 on my spot is for the same reasons Father's Day is your number 1. Is that this is probably I know I said earlier Old Chief Woodenhead would probably be like the most nostalgic, but as far as the first movie goes, this is the most nostalgic. This has been my favorite, and I talked a little bit about it when you talked about it, but that's something to tide you over. I love everything about it. I love the music. I actually have one of the tracks from that on my iPod, or like the main theme of it on my iPod because I love it so much. And I love Leslie Nielsen, even though a lot of people are used to him being like the funny guy because like the airplane
Yeah.
movies and everything, but he's just so great as like the menacing asshole in Something to Tide You Over. He's fucking nuts. Like, and the way he decides to kill them is so unique but horrifying to me. It's just like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I could not imagine dying that way. Just seeing the tide get closer to, and then eventually that you just can't breathe. Like that would suck so bad. And I think they show Harry like when the water. I don't know how they shot that shit. It looks so real. It looks like he's really underwater, really still buried in the sand, and it looks scary as fuck. And
I
he just
know.
dies.
And yeah, I think even though Something to Tide You Over isn't my favorite story, I think Richard, I think is his name in that too, because there's a few Richards throughout the movie. I think he might be like the most like terrifying villain because he's not a monster.
Menacing.
He's not like this over the top character.
Yeah.
He's really sick and twisted, and he's just getting revenge
He's
on
very serious.
these people in like a really fucked up way,
Yeah,
and it's not
that's
like
true. And
supernatural or I mean it gets that later, but
yeah, Yeah, and it doesn't he doesn't really have a campy feel to him. I mean, maybe a couple lines that I do kind of find funny and I laugh at sometimes, but like he's not so over the top where you can't take him serious. I think he's the most like threatening. At least he comes off that way, and I totally agree with that. He's very menacing in the way he plots this murder and watches them on the screen and is like laughing about it. He's just like, "Damn girl, why'd you cheated on the wrong one." The story and actors aside, I also do love the whole supernatural thing to it of them coming back for revenge. I like the revenge plots because Leslie Nielsen totally gets what he deserves at the end. And it kind of gets a little campy at the end. Remember the dumb music that plays too when he's like, "I've been
I
on
know.
my breath for a long time," and then the water comes up and it's like, "Doo doo doo doo."
I know, and when
Really
it fades to
stupid music. I don't know
like
why.
the comic book picture, it's like he's just looking off really goofy, like.
Oh my god, I know, I love it. I love it. Like he was like the best choice for that. I don't know. I really feel like that's a really solid story. It definitely scared me the most. Maybe that's why it's my number one too. I know I talked about it earlier, but it definitely was the one that terrified me the most and actually gave me nightmares because I'm a big baby. But I love it. It's like one of the most eerie parts to me is not only the noises that they're making as they're coming back to life, but I don't know if you remember. It's very brief. Again, I'm always like more scared by brief, subtle things. Do you remember when Leslie Nielsen is in the shower and he hears something, so he turns the shower off and he's like listening and he hears it's like a wall of cameras that he has hidden behind like a painting, but when he presses the button it makes like this noise because it's like the paintings are lifting up, it's like or whatever, and he just hears that, but from a distance you hear it from like the bathroom. It's just like, because you know that they're in there. I don't know, little things like that. Just like I love subtle moments like that, and I think that is full of those up until you see the people, and then it becomes sort of in your face horror, but it's still scary because that bitch is scary looking. They're both scary looking, but
Yeah, and I'll say it again. I probably said it twice already, but just the sound of their voices is very creepy. Like I said, it sounds like they're full of water.
I know.
And however they made that effect is it's really good.
Yeah, their voices when they're speaking alone that have that water effect are so scary. But also, do you remember what I'm talking about when I say just their moan? It's like when you
I
see
think
little
so.
shots of them in the hallway walking,
Yeah.
or you hear the footsteps, they're like, I don't want to do it. It sounds stupid, but it literally scares the shit out of me because it's like, ugh. It's like this like weird moany thing where their voices go up and down, and it's like it's kind of it freaks me out because it just sounds off and wrong. Like I said, it's not like, maybe it's not at first listen like really that scary if you just were to hear it out of context, but like to me that sounds horrifying because they're making fucking noises that don't even sound human. It just sounds fucked up and like some underwater like whale creatures. And maybe that was the intention because they're from coming back from the water or whatever. But oh my god, it really freaks me out. So yeah, that was fun.
I know.
Some of yours actually surprised me. I thought the crate. I really did think the crate was going to be
It
your number
almost
one. So I was
was,
like,
yeah.
oh, should I put it as number one so Dylan and I can talk about it? It almost was for me too. So like I said, Something That Tied You Over and the Crate are probably tied as my top, to be honest. But Something That Tied You Over did win this round because I was thinking of the nostalgic thing, and I guess you were too with Father's Day. So
same reasoning. My 1 and 2 as yours. But yeah, I think the first Creepshow especially, but even the second one, they are like the best anthology horror films there are. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, there aren't a lot of anthology horror films, especially now. Because you've said before, like the 80s and the early 90s was just perfect for that. Like we're watching Tales from the Crypt, same feeling. It's like it's the perfect era for it. Like if they did a big budget or just a somewhat, I don't know, successful anthology movie today, I feel like it wouldn't have the same feeling to it because it would just be it would be like today. Like when they did fucking, we should mention this, they did shitty Creepshow 3 that we've never seen 20 years later that had nothing to do with Stephen King or George Romero. And it's garbage. Partly because they're not part of it.
I feel like if an anthology was to be made today, definitely. And wait, you actually watched Creepshow 3? You actually watched it?
No, I've only seen the trailer.
Oh, okay, I thought you actually saw it.
And I just know that. And I think my brother's seen it, and he loves the Creepshow movies too. And he's just like, yeah, don't waste your time with this. I just hate that they...
Yeah, and I think, like, going off on like, if they made it today, like, I'm so sick of remakes. I know I've talked about that before, but just to bitch about that for a second, if they ever did try to remake, like, the actual stories from Creepshow 1 or 2, I think I'd be really, like, just, like, not on board with that at all. And I'm not on board with a lot of remakes anyway. anyway to begin with, but Creepshow is just like, it was made at a time where anthologies were perfect. Like I said, it should not be touched.
No.
It would be so CG. Imagine the fucking Fluffy being fucking CG animated. That'd be awful. That's what they would do. Or fucking Nathan even, like his zombie. It probably wouldn't be like a guy and like it would be fucking all CG animated.
Yeah.
It just looked.
I mean, I think it would have been really cool if they were able to do it like an official Creepshow 3, like a couple of years after Creepshow 2, with like George Romero and Stephen King coming back. That would have been cool. Not 20 years later, some random assholes are using the name to cash in.
Oh, well, I guess on an ending note, too, we can talk about how, what was that thing that you sent me a link for, or like a thing that they're actually re-releasing Creepshow for like Blu-ray, and they're having like this whole special edition come out about it or something? The first one, which would be fucking awesome, because I want that.
They do a lot of awesome things. Like, I got Misery on Blu-ray this year, like a new release from them.
Awesome.
Anyone who hasn't seen these movies,
yeah, because I definitely want
for sure, go buy that new release.
See them. They're worth it. Yeah, they're so worth it. And if you can get your hands on Creepshow 2 as well, that might end up getting a re-release. Because it's just the first movie right now, right?
It's the first
Creepshow 1 that's being like re-released.
But who knows?
Yeah, but if you can get Creepshow 2, I recommend both. They're both awesome. Yeah, maybe if the first one does well, they'll do like a second one, which will be super cool. But shout out to George Romero and Stephen King. You guys are the best, the kings. No pun intended again, of horror. And I'm so glad they collaborated. They should have done it more. It's unfortunate that we lost George Romero and they don't have a chance to collaborate anymore, but
I think,
you know, they at least brought us Creepshow.
I think on a final ending note, it might be off of what you just said about those two. I remember I thought it was really nice and really, you know, cool of Stephen King when George Romero did die last year. He posted something about it on like his social media, like with like a mask.
Twitter.
I think it was of Fluffy, and I don't remember what he said exactly, but it was like paying tribute to George Romero, and he like captioned it like, "Just call me Billy, everyone does."
Oh yeah, I remember. It was really witty, like Stephen King always is. So yeah, I remember seeing that. I thought it was because obviously they were still really good friends, which is awesome. I just wish they would have collaborated a little bit more, but at least we got Creepshow. We can always be happy about that. So
there's still some of my favorite horror movies of all time.
Oh, me too. I think Creepshow, you know, and if I just want to combine both 1 and 2, I think they're literally probably in my top 5 or at least top 10 favorite horror movies ever. I grew up with them. They're just, and you know, Stephen King, George Romero. What more could you ask for? Let's be honest.
Oh, just call me Billy. Everyone does. I know all the best stores. What's the matter with you two? You're not drinking? You just come on with me. Henry, you stay here till I get back. Oh, honey, these people are dry. Now take care of them. They don't know what they're doing. Wipe the stove.
Take a sip of beer. Get prepared. You can put these at the end, like when there's like bloopers or outtakes, just like when you're talking about fucking beer and clear my throat. Anyway. And saying RE7 is garbage.